First, let me thank my friend for that wonderful introduction. I'm not sure I can live up to such billing, but I'm very happy to be here today, though a few minutes late. I apologize. I'm happy to attend this installation, which is actually a remarkable transition considering how much the chapter just exiting has achieved given such difficult times. But I have no doubt that my friend Mr. Duga will do a fantastic job and take you to new heights. So first, let me congratulate all the office bearers who are being installed today. I must also take the time to mention by name the senior people here, Shri Sukraj Nahar from the apex body of GITO, the kind gentleman sitting next to me from whom I borrowed this paper, Sri Jain, Sri Manoj Mehta, the Secretary General, Sri Siddharth Bansali, the Treasurer, Sri Narendra, Sri Srimal, the Director, Sri Rajendra Kumar Jain, the Vice Chairman of GITO Apex, Sri Vinod Dugar, the Chairman of the Trust, Sri Suresh Mehta, the past President, Sri Jashwant Manot, the Joint Treasurer, Sri Nandan Nahar, the Director, Sri Prakash Setia, the Zone Chairman, and last but not least, the Chennai chapter outgoing office bearers, Sri D.K. Jain, Sri Bharat Kanti Joshi, and Sri Naresh Kumar, Sri Srimal. You've done a wonderful job, as was evident in the video, and I congratulate you for that. I think this event was rescheduled once because I had agreed to come for some, or maybe it was some other event. So anyway, the second time, I'm glad it's worked out and I see such a hall full of wonderful people. I'm happy for multiple reasons. As you may know, historically, a lot of southern India, at least who are now Hindus in southern India, had converted to Jainism during, I don't know, going back several hundred years. And there was a revival of Hinduism. And most of the anthropological research, and including things like food habits, teaches us that especially those who remain vegetarian today, like my community that I was born into, were once Jains. We had converted into Jainism and then converted back. So I have that nexus as well. During my years in school, starting in Madurai, in Ooty, in Lovedale, in college, I had many Jain friends. And I've always been impressed by two characteristics. One, the kind of dedication and focus on getting results, and particularly in the field of entrepreneurship and business. But at the same time, the discipline to be very gentle on the earth, vegetarian, very low impact, low footprint, what we now consider environmentally sustainable and very green friendly. So first, I mark that appreciation for the community as a whole, for people of your faith. In a culture like ours, the Tamil culture going back thousands of years, we have always had open minds, open hearts. Our motto has been Yadu Mure, Yavarum Kele. In that sense, we are also very proud to acknowledge the contribution of the Jain community over centuries in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu. And I think it's a mark of that of the 68 chapters in India, it's actually the Chennai chapter that won the Best Chapter Award. Because I'm instinctively, I expect that the Jain community in Mumbai or Ahmedabad or Jaipur or Delhi or Calcutta is a much bigger community by size than it is in Chennai. So it just goes to show you two things. One, how industrious and productive all of you are. Two, how compatible and welcoming we are, and we want to work together with you. Yeah. We request your contributions to our society, to our community, to the greater joint goal of reaching the 1 trillion, as our MC here has pointed out. But this is an installation ceremony. It's not a place for a politician to make a speech. I just want to maybe say two or three things and then, exit gracefully. We have a philosophy, what makes us separate, what I would say marks the Dravidian movement, what certainly my chief minister espouses every day, is not just that we have an ambition to reach a particular scale on economy, but that we want to do it our way. And our way is a very inclusive, equitable way. We want to make sure that everybody has access to education, everybody has a path to social mobility, that everybody can aspire to improve in their lifetime, in their children's lifetime, and that therefore there are not doors that are closed because of historical hierarchies or castes or systems or things like that. In that sense, I would say, what I heard of the G2's ambitions are not that different, right? You have ambitions that are very aggressive in terms of your scale, of your businesses, of your impact in the economy, but you also do so much work in charity, in supporting the poor, in orphanages, in homes for the poor, in training, in education, in health. So it's this kind of combination that you deliver really good results and you do it in a compassionate and inclusive way that I think marks us and I think marks you. You cannot get such acceleration or such great results without continuously adapting. And I was very pleased to see in the introduction of the new chairman the concept of change repeated multiple times. Every day I've always been an agent of change because I think as an immigrant, very young in the United States, I realized I was at the end of an era because I had come from India. When I first started consulting in the US in the late 80s, early 90s, most of the blue collar workers working in high end manufacturing, I'm talking about defense or automotive, were getting paid so well that they could afford second homes, holiday homes, boats, planes, little planes. And I could see that that was not a sustainable thing. If globalization would allow people like me to go and study in the US, sooner or later, globalization would make sure that those jobs and those factories would also become unsustainable from a cost perspective. And so I used to advise all my friends on the shop floor. I used to be an industrial consultant starting about 89 or 90. I say, guys, this won't last. Make sure you send your children to college to learn something about technology or some other field, because this ability to do skilled manual labor and make this kind of money is probably going away. And it was true. Some people saw it, some people didn't, but it definitely happened. Change is a constant, as somebody put in the slide here. And what I've always tried to do is be the driver of change, because change is going to happen one way or the other. If you get to drive it, at least you get to shape the world tomorrow. If you're not that, what can I say, ambitious, at least you're smart enough to realize that change is going to happen and you be flexible and adapt. And then maybe, there are some people who don't realize, who still want to stick to the ways of 20, 30, 50 years ago, and usually change washes over them like a tide. And I've had this conversation with my chief minister many times and said that, the change is upon us. We either shape it, adapt to it, or get wiped out. That's basically our choices. In that sense, I would say profound change requires a constant battle. Superficial change is very easy. Profound change requires constant battle, but it produces dramatic results. And I think, again, what will distinguish the 5 years of my chief minister's term starting last year in the depth of the second wave of the crisis, is that we are going to achieve profound change. And that's because we're fighting every day in every way to bring about procedural, personnel, alignment, financial, structural change. It's also fitting, I think, that the theme should be chess, both for the Olympiad that was very successfully concluded. But I think what certainly I, as a minister or a former managing director in a large bank with global responsibilities, what I try to do every day, which is to plan 2 or 3 moves ahead. You never plan for today. You plan for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. I remember speaking to my chief minister after the MP election. I had predicted that we would win by a minimum of 8 or 9%. And in the end, we won by 23%. Right after, or 22.6%. Right after that election, I saw him and I said, I'm not actually worried about the election in 21. I'm worried about how we're going to govern after we get elected. We should start planning that now. So we started that plan 2 years before we came to office, and that helped us hit the ground running. I think the other aspect of chess that I relate to and practice every day is to constantly assess where the risks are coming from. What are the new likely kind of impacts or waves? So, for example, I'm certainly very concerned that we may enter into a global recession sometime in the next 2 or 3 years. And of course, we need to worry about it from multiple perspectives. But I can assure you, at least as far as the government of Tamil Nadu is concerned, I've already started to build in financial hedging in multiple ways. And therefore, I'm fairly confident that were a global recession or even a national recession to hit us, that Tamil Nadu will fare better than most states because we've already put the plans in place. I think the last thing I would say that's related to chess is that sometimes you lose the battle and you have to remember to get back up when you get knocked down and stay the course till you win the war, right? There's no one immediate success. It's a marathon. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But when you lose, you kind of keep the resolve, get back up, and if you play well enough, no one battle is fatal. You can still win the war. So I think both in the strategic context that was explained here and in what I do, there's also that in common. Let me just close by saying that I think the comments made by several people here today about making a difference, about leaving a mark, I think these are the aspirations that propel humanity to great heights, individually, collectively. That we want to leave something behind. We want to leave the world a better place. We want to leave society a more humane, compassionate, inclusive, considerate group than we saw it. But I think also in the Jain community, I notice the two aspects of that. On the one hand, great vision, great ambition in entrepreneurship, in financial outcomes, in scale, in impact. But at least with some of the Jains, the more kind of orthodox that I've seen, they have a real commitment to having as low a negative impact on the world as well. You know, they watch where they step, they wear masks before things like COVID came about. So this parallel track of doing as little harm as possible and simultaneously doing as much good as possible, I think is something that we can all learn from and emulate. So I'm sure the new team, the community will continue to reach new heights. I wish all of you well. Thank you again for inviting me, and I will say Nandri, Vanakkam.